Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for watching this video. In this video, I'm going to talk about 3 persuasion techniques that nonprofit agencies and even profit agencies are using to raise funds or to raise donations for a certain cause. As a psychology teacher, as a social studies teacher who has been teaching the introduction to psychology, normally we cover this topic in chapter 12, which is reserved for social psychology. So what persuasion techniques do we normally use to raise donations or to convince people to donate money for a certain cause? Well, let's take a look at it. Bear with me for a moment. Okay, so the first technique that's on our list, or the first persuasion technique, is known as foot in the door technique. So what does it mean to use a foot in the door technique? Simply explained is this. You ask for a small favor, and then small favor turns into a bigger favor, okay? So let's say, for example, that you have a neighbor who comes to your house one day and tells you that he or she will be going on vacation. And your neighbor asks you if you will be so kind to check the mailbox and the mail for him. Of course, you'll probably say yes, because that's a small favor. And then your neighbor will thank you very much. But the next day, your neighbor comes back and says, oh, by the way, while you check my mailbox, would you mind watering my plants or feeding my fish? Well, now we have a bigger favor. Okay, so small favor of checking mail now is turning into a bigger favor. That's foot in the door technique. Most of the people who are faced with a foot in the door technique will usually say yes. They may not be pleased with that answer, but usually they will say yes. So according to some research studies, over 75% of the people will agree. Okay, so that's one way to ask people to donate for your cause. So you might ask people to donate a small amount of money. Like, for example, you can say, hey, if you donate $5, then we will be able to feed one homeless person. When the person makes donation, then you can say, hey, listen, but did you know that for $20, you can feed family of 5? Now we have a foot in the door technique in action. So foot in the door technique is one easy way or easy persuasion technique to raise money. However, besides foot in the door technique, we also have something that's called door in the face technique. Door in the face technique is opposite of foot in the door technique. So it starts with a big favor and then it turns into a small favor. So for example, let's say that you would like to raise money for a certain cause and you ask for a larger donation, like a donation of $100. Okay, people who are wealthy, they might donate, all right? But people who are not so wealthy, they might reject you, actually. So they might say, no, I don't have that kind of money. Now, you will start asking for less. Then you might say, how about 90? How about 80, 70, 50, 10, $5, a dollar, anything, okay? Usually, by using door in the face technique, you may not get what you asked for, like you may not ask $100 donation, but you might definitely get something, some sort of donation or some amount of money. So it's opposite, as I have said. So it starts with a bigger request, and then the big request turns into a smaller request. Usually when I teach this class, I like to joke with my students and I like to tell them, listen, if you would like to spend a night at your friend's house and you know that your parents will disagree with your request, then you might actually ask your parents for a big favor first. You can say something like this. Hey, mom and dad, can I borrow the car so that me and my friends can drive over to Niagara Falls, spend the night over at Niagara Falls, but I promise that we will be back home by Sunday midnight. Of course, parents will say, no way. Okay, that's a very, very big responsibility. Then when you get rejected, then you might say, but you never let me do anything. Would you at least let me spend the night at my friend's house? Usually parents will say yes, or hey, we'll think about it, or we'll talk about it. Now you are talking. So that's door in the face technique. And there is the third technique, third persuasion technique, the one that I don't like, because this one actually is a very, very dishonest technique, and it's called lowball technique. You pitch an attractive offer and then you increase the price. Okay. How many of you have signed up for a, let's say, cell phone service, especially like a family plan? All right. Let's say you go to a local store that sells cell phones, and they tell you, hey, listen, you can open 4 lines of service. It's like a family plan, and you can have unlimited minutes, unlimited texting, unlimited data, all for $100 a month. That sounds very, very attractive. So you might say, oh, sure, sign me up, you know. So you sign up your family for this new plan. And when the first bill arrives, you realize that the bill is much, much bigger than what they have said. So it's much larger than $100. So when you call the company, I mean, the cell phone company, to complain about it, then they might tell you, oh, yes, sir, but did you know that there is a $40 activation fee for each line of service? So 4 lines of service times $40, then that's $160, but that's one-time fee. Plus, you have to pay taxes on top of it, and you have to pay for 1 month in advance. Would you like to cancel the service, sir? I mean, honestly, we would feel sorry to lose your service. Of course, you will be upset, but then you will probably say, forget about it. I'll just go ahead and pay it. But I wish you told me about these activation fees at the store when I was ready to open, before I opened the service. That would be one example of low ball technique, okay? Now, we do probably remember, you guys probably do remember a Great Recession that struck the United States and the whole world back in 2008. Well, unfortunately, that's what many banks were doing when they were giving mortgages, you know. First, they will give you mortgage and they would say, oh, you don't have to pay any interest rate, you know, for the first few months. But then after 3, 4, or even 6 months, then they would hit you pretty hard with the interest rates to the point where many people were no longer able to make monthly payments for their house, for their home, for the mortgage. You know, so that's a low ball technique. Unfortunately, yes, some companies do that. All right, so these are 3 persuasion techniques that nonprofit and as well as profit agencies are using to raise money, raise donations. So just that you know, you can use these persuasion techniques when you try to collect money for a certain cause, or right now you also understand how these persuasion techniques work so that you don't become a victim. Well, thank you very much for watching this video, and please subscribe to my channel for more lessons. Thank you, and you have a pleasant day.